Hey everyone, welcome. Get ready, because today we are embarking on a really thrilling expedition. Think of this explainer as your ultimate nature explorer's survival field guide. We're going to unpack the incredibly clever and honestly, sometimes downright shocking tactics that animals use to evade the absolute deadliest predators on the planet. From the super dense, sun-drenched tropical canopies of Costa Rica to the frozen, unforgiving tundras of Alaska, survival in the wild takes constant ingenuity. It's like a giant biological puzzle. So,
Here
let's
is our
dive right
Field Manual's table of contents for today. We'll kick things off with nature's hidden dangers, and then open up Chapter 1 on the alarm, Chapter 2 on toxic warnings, Chapter 3 on masters of deception, and Chapter 4 on group defense. And finally, we'll wrap up by facing
All right, setting the stage with nature's
To truly
hidden
appreciate these survival strategies, we really have to recognize the massive stakes for the prey. I mean, the threats out there are absolutely unforgiving. From the stealthy jaguars prowling Costa Rica to the massive brown bears up in Alaska, a single mistake is literally fatal. As this quote from our source material perfectly captures, danger is never far away, forming an essential part of life in this untamed jungle. Survival isn't just about getting lucky. It requires constant, 24/7 vigilance and some incredibly ingenious evolutionary countermeasures just to stay one step ahead of a lethal hunter.
moving right
Alarm.
along to Chapter
So
1.
imagine you're
the
a primate living high up in the jungle canopy. You absolutely have to know when a jaguar is prowling below you. What's so fascinating here is how different monkey species use the exact opposite extremes of sound to survive. First, let's look at the loudest approach imaginable. The howler monkey is considered one of the loudest primates in the entire world, and they pull this off through a really unique biological adaptation, a highly developed hyoid bone and an expansive cavity that basically acts as a built-in natural speaker system. When a jaguar is spotted, they don't bother hiding. No, they use this biological amplifier to blast an unmistakable warning signal across the entire
Just
jungle.
look at this massive number, 5 kilometers. That is how far a howler monkey's thunderous warning can actually travel. Just imagine an alarm system so powerful that alerts not just their own immediate family, but entirely different groups and surrounding wildlife miles away. It instantly shatters the jaguar's element of surprise.
Not everyone takes the loud approach. I'm actually going to drop my voice to a whisper here because the highly agile white-faced capuchin monkey uses the exact opposite strategy. Instead of screaming when danger is near, the absolute second they sense a predator lurking in the deep forest, the entire group will immediately freeze. They submerge themselves in this tense, collective silence, just listening for any sound at all. It's a brilliant, highly disciplined strategy to stay completely hidden and just let the danger pass by unnoticed.
Turning the page to Chapter 2. So we've seen how sound works, but what happens when an animal is just too small to run away and doesn't want to hide? Well, if you're the tiny poison dart frog, you make absolutely no effort to blend in. Sporting this vibrant, shiny skin in shades of yellow, orange, blue, or red, these brilliant colors are basically nature's ultimate do-not-touch neon sign. It clearly signals to any approaching predator that its skin is laced with a potent chemical weapon capable of causing instant death upon contact. It's a really bold strategy, right? Hiding in plain sight by... Which brings us to Chapter 3,
But what if you
Masters of
aren't
Dis-
actually lethal? In the wild, survival often comes down to a high-stakes bluff or a visual trick that leaves predators thoroughly confused. Take this brilliant biological comparison, for example. We just talked about the poison dart frog's genuine warning, but compare that to the red-eyed tree frog. This frog isn't deadly at all. Instead, when a predator approaches, it suddenly flashes its striking, fire-red eyes and violently stretches out its legs. This sudden startled display abruptly flashes bright colors to essentially say, "Hey, I am suddenly much bigger and scarier than you thought." It is pure visual shock value designed to buy just enough time to make it.
Deception isn't always about bright colors and sudden movements. Check out this incredibly small number, 0.24 kilometers per hour. That is the absolute glacial top speed of the brown-throated sloth when it's moving through the canopy. It's widely considered the slowest animal on Earth. So how on earth does it survive a jungle filled with lightning-fast
It
jaguars?
survives through a paradox. Extreme slowness is actually their greatest armor. The sloth's absolute lack of speed, combined with this thick fur that's actively tinted green by algae, makes them blend seamlessly right into the branches. Because predators like the jaguar hunt largely based on detecting sudden movements, this majestic slowness renders the sloth practically invisible in the dense foliage. It is a total masterclass.
All right, let's look at Chapter We are officially leaving the sweltering, dense, tropical canopy of Costa Rica and traveling to the freezing, rugged Alaskan tundra to look at a completely different kind of evasion. We're talking the ultimate fortress mentality. The crucial thing to know here is that a migrating caribou never travels alone. When they move northward, they form massive herds of up to 40,000 strong. And when predatory gray wolves start shattering their movements, they execute this chronological playbook perfectly. Step 1, they form tightly knit groups. Step 2, the adults build physical protective barriers around the vulnerable calves. Step 3, if pursued, the massive herd executes sudden synchronized directional shifts to totally confuse the attackers. And finally, if they're cornered, they lower their heads, transforming a literal wall of antlers into formidable weapons. It's the
And
perfect
now we
group.
reach our final chapter, the ultimate.
All of these evolutionary strategies we've talked about, from the ear-splitting roar of the howler monkey, to the deception of the tree frog, to the fortress walls of the caribou, they are the result of millions of years of fine-tuning. But as this stark data shows, they cannot save these animals from an unseen threat. The numbers here are a severe wake-up call. The jaguar population has dropped 25% in just the last 20 years due to deforestation. The Baird's tapir population has plummeted by 50% due to habitat shrinkage, and a staggering 46% of amphibians are at risk due to climate change and pollution. Evolution simply cannot outpace the abrupt reality of human-driven
It's
habitat.
not all bad news. There is definitely hope. And these conservation metrics prove that dedicated human action can absolutely reverse the damage. Take Costa Rica, for instance. They have actively dedicated over 25% of their entire land mass to conservation areas. Through relentless effort, they have successfully restored over 50% of their forest cover as of 2024, and that's up from just 21% back in the 1980s. And just recently, in July 2024, they launched a major coastal mangrove restoration project. This proves that when we actually choose to step in, we can actively rebuild the ecosystems these incredible survival
Which brings us to
strategies.
the end of our field guide today, and leaves us with one final, pretty vital question to ponder. Will we step up to act as the dedicated protectors of these fragile habitats, or will we ultimately become the one apex predator that these wildly clever, perfectly adapted animals simply cannot evade? The choice, ultimately, is entirely up to us. Thank you